Now, before we go to news and sport, we're going to come back to the Roscommon inquiry, because while speculation is continuing about the identity of the right-wing Catholic organisation that funded the parents' injunction against the HSE taking them into care, the injunction had the effect of allowing the parents' abuse of their children to continue for another 4 years. Well, Philip Boucher-Hayes now profiles conservative Catholic activist Mena Chribín, who denies funding the court action but was identified as the individual who lobbied the HSE on the parents' behalf in the wake of the court case.
If you were inclined towards the view that Ireland may have rewound the clock to the 1980s recently, the re-emergence of Mena Chribín onto the scene would convince you that we actually had.
And here is your host, Gay Byrne.
Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce to you now Mena Chribín. Mena Chribín. You're very welcome, Mena. Oh, thank you very much indeed. That sets the tone of the whole proceedings.
In the 1980s, Gay Byrne regularly used Mena as a barometer of conservative Catholic opinion.
I don't believe in John Paul II.
How representative she actually was is doubtful, as she had denounced not only the hierarchy of the Church, but Pope John Paul II as heretics. They weren't hardline enough for Mena.
It's terribly simple, really, Gay. Mary, our Mother in Heaven, has appeared in several places, and she has said a couple of times at least that Rome would fall.
Her views on divorce were so strict that they didn't even allow for debate on the subject.
Divorce, as far as I'm concerned, if you're discussing divorce, you're discussing adultery. And call a spade, 6 thou shalt not commit adultery. That's as easy as that. So why are we talking about it at all?
Similarly, contraception led to fornication and shouldn't be discussed publicly either.
You had Father Brian Darcy here a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying that people came along to discuss it in confession as if it was something that could be discussed. What are they mentioning it at all for if they think it's right? It's either right or it's wrong. I see there are no grey areas. I'm just black and white, and I suppose there's God up there and there's a devil downstairs, and that's about it, isn't it?
And while we're on the subject, does she actually believe in the existence of the devil?
Oh, yes. I very much believe in the existence of the devil.
Mena and her associates first came to public attention in the 80s when they disrupted meetings that they didn't like the sound of.
We decided that there was a meeting on about some of these things, and we know that the same old stuff, woman's right to choose and all these old daft things are going to be trotted out.
They would heckle until the meetings were abandoned, and Mena appeared to relish her work.
Sure, if we didn't enjoy it, life wouldn't be worth living, would it?
And you come out after disrupting the meeting and you have a good laugh about it.
Of course, we have a good laugh inside as well. So we have a good laugh most days about most things anyway.
Headmaster Sean Dempsey, who was on the receiving end of the heckling at one meeting, doesn't recall it being so good-humoured.
They proceeded to insult the people gathered around, including the teachers, including myself, and the Gardaí had to be called and the meeting had to be abandoned. They proceeded then to insult parents and call them lots of names that are, some of them not repeatable, but amongst the names I was certainly called a pervert, and I was accused of showing pornographic videos to children.
Throughout the 80s, Mena lobbied and protested against abortion, divorce and contraception. In the early 90s, she got involved in a controversy over the teaching of religion in a Gaelscoil built on land that she owned. Kids would have to be taught the Archbishop McQuaid-era catechism or withdraw.
Well, the Children of God series, that's the road. They can teach it wherever they like. They can get out in the bushes there and teach it if they want. And nobody's stopping them. We're not stopping them from doing anything.
But you won't allow them to teach it on your property?
I would not want any heresy taught. I couldn't, in all conscience,
you mean you wouldn't want the Children of God taught?
There is heresy in the Children of God series, and I would not want any heresy taught. And I couldn't lend myself or my property to the teaching of any heresy. How could I?
It wasn't just about penny catechism and Tridentine masses, though. Some parents related disturbing stories about how religion was being taught in the school.
On one instance, she got her hands up like that and she says, Isa was nailed to the cross and they murdered him and all this. Like, my daughter's 5. And all the children are the same. They're all coming home with all the stories of the devil come, Lucifer, they call him. And their mammies are sinners. Their mammies aren't married. Some of the parents are single parents. Their mammies aren't married and their mammies are sinners.
Given Mena Chribín's public statements on her desire to reintroduce corporal punishment into schools, it is perhaps surprising that the Department of Education didn't do more to question her involvement in the running of this school.
If a 4 or 5 year old child decides to be bold, there's no power in heaven or earth will stop that child from howling or from running around, except a quick slap. So that to scrap that just means that our lives are now governed by bold 4, 5 and 6 year old children. That's really what they have done. And, well, you know yourself, in a school, if you have 1 or 2 in a class who play up, well, the whole class will play up and you get nothing done.
By the mid-1990s, Mena may have realised that Ireland didn't share all her views any longer. The titters in the Late Late Show audience would certainly have told her that they didn't like her use of language.
A young girl, for instance, now of 17, 18, all she really has to do to have an income for 21 years or so is to have a baby outside of wedlock. And she's assured of, £34 a week for herself and the child. That's a terribly startling thing.
For an unmarried mother, it's hardly a living, though.
I don't call them unmarried mothers. Let's call them what they are, mistresses. You know, it's all fine. Yeah. It's all fine, yeah, and it's all fine as long as it's somebody way out there, you know, but it's somebody's son or husband that's involved in these things. They're not nice, and they simply shouldn't be there.
She dropped from public view after this final television appearance, but as was revealed in the High Court by the HSE, she remained active in less obtrusive ways. She's previously denied funding the injunction taken by the Roscommon parents that allowed them to continue to abuse their children for 4 more years. And phone calls to her home and business today have gone unanswered.
You would think, if you were to listen to the media and read the papers and everything, you would think that all the people in Ireland had changed. But you see, all the people in Ireland haven't changed. It's just the few who speak who have changed.
If Mena Chribín didn't fund the Roscommon parents' High Court action, she has certainly created the impression in the past that she would agree in principle with the idea of placing the rights of the family above those of the child.
I don't believe that the society that we have can give happiness. I don't believe that it can. I don't believe that it can last much longer anyway, because this state is supposed to be founded on the family. Well, if it's not founded on the family, how can it survive? Is the question that I would ask.
And that profile of conservative Catholic activist Mena Chribín was by Philip Boucher-Hayes.